I think we'll start off with this piece of news. This one is real quick, and then we'll get into Grab. But Google looks like they are officially acquiring Wiz for $30 billion. And that looks like it's going to be happening immediately. So Wiz is a cloud security startup. And given they're a cloud security startup, they've been in the news as of August 2024, potentially for being bought out. Now, they chose not to get bought out because they felt that they could compete with Google. And as a result, their founder said, hey, we're going to go to 100 billion. Why are we worried about 23 billion, which was at the time the acquisition? Now, they're getting bought out for about 32 billion. And this is all cash. Again, cybersecurity startup, particularly around cloud security, all cash. Google, I'm going to get the number wrong, but I think they have somewhere between 120 billion in cash, 100 to 120. Probably off on that a little bit, but yeah, they have a ton of money in cash. And from my understanding, this is all cash. So I bought some more Google yesterday. Google's down right now because when you're spending 32 billion in cash, you're probably going to be not having as much. You're obviously not going to be having as much cash to do other things like buybacks. And if shareholders view the buybacks as more attainable than the acquisition, then they can take you down a little bit. In general, the company's losing cash, but they're gaining a massive asset, which I believe Wiz is doing about $1 billion in revenue. So they just acquired $1 billion in ARR, and the point is they're growing something like 4x year over year. So even though they're paying 32 billion to buy $1 billion of revenue, they are acquiring something that is fast growing and that hopefully can do close to 10 billion in revenue and get that 100 billion multiple that the founder was looking for over the next coming years. As a shareholder, I'm not a big shareholder of Google, but I like it. I think it's good. I think Google needs to grow. I think their enterprise cloud business is one of their strongest businesses. And in order to expand that business, they need to have different verticals and acquisitions they can expand into. Microsoft has done this in cybersecurity in a variety of ways. So has Amazon. GCP is significantly smaller compared to AWS and Azure. It's growing faster than those two, but that's because it's off a small base. But it's not the big daddy when it comes to AWS and Azure and cloud. And so adding a level where they can upsell clients on this cloud security and just being able to expand into that cybersecurity vertical, I think is good. I think it's bullish. And I think they needed to do something with their money. I mean, you got 32 billion in cash. You can either buy back stock or you can invest in companies in the future that can hopefully continue to expand your product suite to be able to keep going in the future. And Google just confirmed the deal, apparently. So this is not even a rumor anymore. This officially has happened. Google has bought Wiz. Let me see if Sundar tweeted about it at all. What's interesting to me, though, about it, and yeah, Sundar tweeted, here we go. What's more interesting to me about this is that the Wiz founder rejected the offer at 23 billion, right? And that was in August of 2024, which means he felt the environment was strong enough for him to go on this journey of building a $100 billion company, which props to him, right? We need people that want to be bold and take on the task of trying to build very, very big companies. Why is he coming back 5 years later and saying, or not 5 years later, 5 months later, and then saying, hey, Sundar, yeah, can you give us the money again? But this time, can you give us 10 billion extra? And props to him. He got 10 billion extra. Instead of 23, he's getting 32. But that also kind of makes me feel two things. Either was Wiz's business that bad that they realized they weren't going to be able to become, a very big public company independently, which probably is the case. I mean, that is one argument to make. Or two, is the macro environment shifting enough where the Wiz CEO was like, you know what? I'm not going to gamble with my equity or my employees' equity because over the next 5 years, given the Trump tariff volatility, yada, yada, you could have 1,000 different reasons. Maybe it's better to just take the money and run versus try to go build my own independent company. So they increased the valuation from 23 to 32. That's incredible. But if you read the email that the founder sent to his employees, it was kind of just like middle finger to Google. We're going for it, baby. We're going for it. And I'm just wondering what happened 5 months later. I doubt the growth of the company slowed down that much. So it's like, did the environment really change to the point where they were like, hey, IPOs are not going to be, that strong to do over the next couple of years, or did something happen in the business? And what does that mean for the other companies that are trying to IPO, the Klarnas, the Discord, the Stripes? I mean, it's just a really interesting macro thing for me to look at, but I'm happy Google's doing this. I think it makes sense for Google to do it. And right now it seems like they are taking advantage of this. Benny says they have FSD with Waymo, robotics with Apptronik, cybersecurity with Wiz, cloud, and YouTube. They are so set for the next stage of growth. Yeah, I agree, dude. I continue to believe Google's cheap. I think 2 years from now, we look back at 164 and we think it's cheap. I really do. And YouTube is becoming more of my thesis, dude. Like, I'm just on the platform all day. I'm obviously creating on the platform. It's like more and more I realize like this is the platform. By the way, if you look at India and their usage of YouTube, it is insane. And the reason I'm saying this is because the Indian Prime Minister just did a podcast with Lex Friedman. And it just, the amount of Indians, I believe it's 440 million every month that use YouTube. That's only growing. And India has so many Androids. Androids come built in with YouTube. And I'm not saying YouTube is the only thesis, but it's a hell of a thing to bet against over the long term, especially if I'm a creator on the platform. Like, I'm helping build the platform. You would imagine that I have equity in it. And then you've got Apptronic and Waymo, all these other things that are discounted. So yeah, in my opinion, I like Google here. I think it makes sense. I like it a lot better than at 220 or 215 where it was at before earnings. And hopefully we get some more discounts, or we can potentially form a bottom here. But as of now, Google down about 0.3% on this news for acquiring Wiz for $23 billion.